Hi guys, this is Albert the Analyst. I'm here to do a preview of the women's 100 meters that was run just yesterday at the Prefontaine Classic. Now, this one was very exciting. I would say it was an upset from Melissa. Some persons probably would say, "Oh no, it's not an upset. She was the second. She was, she's the fastest person this year." But yeah, I think we all expected Melissa to win, if we're being honest. So yeah, I want to firstly give my prediction and then the results of the race. So let me just quickly find that. So I initially predicted for the women's 100 meters that Julien would come first with 10.7 low or faster. Melissa would come. Julien first with 10.7 low or faster. Melissa second with 10.7 mid or 10.8 low, and then Tina with 10.7 high or 10.8 low. And then I said Tina and Melissa could switch places. And then my dark horse was Sha'Carri, because I will always believe that in any race that she's in, Sha'Carri is a dark horse where, she always has the possibility to win, right? So yeah, there's that. It's kind of hard to counter out no matter what. So there's that. So for the actual results, so Melissa Jefferson wins in 10.75. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, okay, that was cool. Nice time. Very fast time. We run at a 10.6. But the wind was minus 1.5, guys. Now, if you don't know much about, wind when it comes down to track and field, so when you're running with the wind behind you, like it's pushing you forward, the allowable limit for that is 2.0 meters per second. Now, if the wind is pushing against you, that's called a negative wind. It's pushing you backwards, basically. So just imagine, 2.0 is the limit for if the wind is pushing you. But now imagine if that 2.0 is pushing you back. And remember, 1.5 isn't that far from 2.0, right? So the wind would have been pushing them back a lot. And yet, Melissa still clocked 10.75. And when I do, so the wind calculator that I use, the wind correction calculator that I use is one that was curated by Jeff Chen. It's one that I found to be very accurate over the years of me, watching track and field and converting times. So when I used that calculator revealed to me that had the wind been still with no resistance, she might have ran 10.6. And had the wind, for example, been anywhere between 1.5 to 2.0 meters per second, Melissa could have ran 10.5 yesterday. So that's just crazy. Julien Alfred she came second, but she ran a time of 10.77, which is so close still. And when I use the calculator as well, she too could have run 10.6 or 10.5 based on, still wind versus high wind. That's not, above the limit. Of course, these calculators, they factor in a lot of stuff. And of course, they are not always accurate. But of course, we still have to kind of try to figure out what would the result had been had it not been a negative wind. You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind. I cannot help but notice the similarities in their execution. So for example, with Melissa, she reminds me so much of Shelly-Ann, where she gets out and she maintains that top speed for as long as she can, and you have to try to catch her. Alternatively, Julien reminds me of Elaine, where I noticed that Julien's dry phase has been a bit longer than usual. And I feel it was too long actually yesterday. So yeah, that long dry phase, and then when she, when her head gets up and she comes out of the dry phase, it's all top end speed. So that kind of reminds me of Elaine. So I just found it so coincidental that Melissa's race execution reminds me of Shelly's, while Julien's reminds me of Elaine. And another coincidence for me was that race yesterday was quite reminiscent to me of Lausanne 2021, where Shelly ran 10.60 to beat Elaine's 10.64. And then when you factor in the wind, I think it was run with a plus 1.7, that race with Shelly and Elaine. Now, if you put that 1.7 behind Melissa and Julien, maybe they would have run those exact same times. And the same way that Shelly got out and maintained to the point where Elaine was not able to catch her despite her top end speed, it reminds me exactly of this, where Melissa got out. Julien's drive phase, just like Elaine's, was longer than most persons, and great top end speed, but it just was not enough to beat off. To beat Melissa, quite like Elaine wasn't able to beat Shelly in that one race in Lausanne in 2021. So I just can't help but notice those similarities. Marie-Josée Tillou. She came third with a season's best of 10.90. Of course, if we were to do some wind conversion, that could be a 10.8 with still wind, a 10.7 with some wind assistance below the limit, of course. In my preview video of the Prefontaine Classic, I did mention Tillou's consistency. I did shout her out and big her up for her consistency and her always showing up no matter what. So I'm so proud of Tillou. So shout out to Tillou. TinaClayton came fourth in her race. She ran 11.02. Again, when you factoring the win, that could have been a 10.9 or a 10.8. So considering the fact that Tina is coming off of such an adrenaline-filled national trials in Jamaica, I'm still proud of this performance, right? Definitely still proud of this performance. So hey, my top three came top four with Tillou, beating Tina for that third place spot. Favor Ophelia came fifth with a time of 11.09. Again, when you factoring the wind, you could practically say that this was a 10.9. So that's good going for Ophelia. Just competing against these big girls and still being able to come top 5. That's great. Dina Rasher Smith, not gonna lie, I expected a sub 11 from her. Didn't quite get it, but that's fine. She's building. As I said, if you factor in the win, it could have been sub 11 with win considered. Tonisha Terry, she came 7th. Maya McCoy 8th, and Sha'Carri Richardson 9th. Now, I want us to know that despite the fact that Sha'Carri came 9th, this was a season's best. It wasn't an 11.4, thank God. So, she let us know that she's coming back from injury and she's just working, she's just building. So, that's totally fine. I'm just looking forward to see how her team maneuvers in terms of getting her ready for the World Championships while being mindful that she has a bye for the women's 100 meters. She's interested in doing the double, meaning she hasn't let us know that she wants to do the 200 meters and will be doing it at her trials. And of course, how do they navigate that injury issue that she had and how do they ensure that it doesn't reoccur? So, that it'll be very exciting to see how she maneuvers her season, especially considering that she's never participated in a championship that was in September. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out. Now, for the women's 100-meter hurdles, Akira Nugent won with a time of 12.32. Very great going from Akira. She came second at the trials last week. And, she bounced right back, 12.32. Her consistency this year has been so amazing. Please do not be shocked if at one of these races, Akira pulls out a 12.1 or faster. She's been that consistent. Another person who you shouldn't be shocked if they pull out a 12.1 is Toby Amusan. I think that this has been Toby's best year since 2022. She's been so consistent in getting her times faster and faster, just like in 2022, where she was just getting season's best, personal best, national records back to back until she did what she did in Eugene at the World Champs, where she ran the world record in the semis. And had the win been legal in the final, that would have also been another world record. Third place was Kendra Harrison. Very, very proud of Kenny. I love the fact that she's still keeping up with these ladies who she ushered in. I want us to make no mistake. Kendra kind of set the bar in terms of, the high performance in the women's 100-meter hurdles. And so I'm glad that she's still there. Masai Russell came first. Masai is the Olympic champion. She has been dealing with some issues this season. So the fact that she came fourth, I'm very, very proud of that. Danielle Williams, the defending world champion, ran a season's best of 12.51. I'm quite sure that she's pleased with that. Danielle has never really cared for running fast times, in season. She's more cared about preparing for the championship, because that's really where you need to run fast and win. Tonia Marshall came 6th. Alia McCormick came 7th. Aaliyah Armstrong and Tia Jones did not finish. I'll have to check to see what happened there, but great showing from the women's women over 100-meter hurdles. Very proud of Akira. So yeah. So all in all, it was a really great showing from these women in the 100-meter hurdles. I firmly believe that the women's 100-meter hurdles is the most stacked event in the world right now, and has been the most stacked event for the past few years. When you look at it, there are like 5 women who literally could get up and run 12-1 tomorrow, 12-2. So, it's their field is deep. If you want to like make a comparison to see how crazy it is, just imagine 5 women in the 100 meters being able to run 10-5 tomorrow, any day of the week. That's not even happening right now in the women's 100 meters. But on the flip side, it is happening in the women's 100-meter hurdles. So that is just insanity. Shout out to the women for the women's 100-meter hurdles. You guys always show up. You guys rarely ever pull out. You guys show up. And I really appreciate that. Really great races. Very impressed by this entire Prefontaine Classic meet. I would say that this has been the very best meet outside of a world or Olympic championship since the Prefontaine that happened in 2021. Very, very happy for that. I love the fact that this has been the best track and field meet to me since 2021, and it was a track and field meet, not just a track meet. If you know, you know. So thank you guys for listening. Like, share, subscribe, keep supporting me, and until next time, peace.